Okay. Okay. Hey, wonderful people. Check out this shirt. Ooh, I love it. All right. Hey, wonderful people. I don't think I need this headset. I don't need this one. So I don't have a pocket door. So hello, people watching this. Check out my hair. So my name's Donny, Dr. Donny, and I am a teacher of what is called social emotional learning. And I'm teaching a course called Emotions for Dummies. And well, I've been trying to record this class and I've been struggling. I've had a series of audio or webcam or light related problems. And so I would like to put this information into the hands of people who will use it, to help people with their feelings, because times are just very, very troubling, you know. Although for what it's worth, today is the day that Kamala Harris got nominated as vice president. So, you know, some of us are very happy about that and some of us are maybe not so much. For what it's worth, if you're watching this, let me not get into politics right now. Let's focus on, we'll get into feelings in other ways, but I don't need to get into my feelings about the election necessarily, unless I work on that as part of our feelings thing later. But anyway, so I'm offering a series of material in these videos to help us all deal with our thoughts and feelings. I come from a workbook that I'm putting together called The Book of You. And so I said all that to say welcome. And some people may come to this event and some people may not. It's 2 hours of material, so just so you know. And of course, it's being recorded so that way you don't have to just sit here for a solid 2 hours. If you would like to access this material, you know, at the speed at which you can handle it, then it allows this, watching it in this format allows you to do that. Okay. For people who are watching this, oh, look, we already have somebody showing up already. Oh, that's wonderful. Okay. Welcome, welcome. This is going to be a very relaxed environment, so please just make yourself comfortable. I really designed this class to be very focused on, well, honestly, who knows what you're going through emotionally in life. So it's really designed to allow yourself to be in a place of rest, comfortable, so that way we can dig into our feelings. Okay. So welcome, welcome. And like I just said, this is also being recorded. So it's your choice what you'd like to do in terms of speaking, what you'd like to say, all that good stuff. Yeah. And I was just about to say, I'm going to give everyone a link. So this class is called Emotions for Dummies because, you know, I thought that'd be a kind of funny title, you know. But if anyone's the real dummy here, it's always yours truly. This thing here called the mind. And so I put together, let's see here, here we go, all these buttons. Okay, so in the Zoom chat here, what I'm going to do is put the link to the Emotions for Dummies material, the link to the Google Doc, or maybe, let's see, hold on. I should probably click this share button. Copy link. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, so that way I can copy and repaste that as things go on. And then for those of us watching, I can move the video, share screen. Okay. Is that doing that? Here we go. Yeah, here we go. All right, there we go. Technology. Okay. So like I said, you may be in whatever space you're in. Also, I should say this class is all about feelings. So emotional validation is where it's at. So whatever you're feeling in this moment, I honor that. If you ever feel like you would like to just open up conversation, talk about how you're feeling, just make space to bring feelings into the room. 100% feel free. Okay. The other thing I was saying is that Kamala Harris just became vice president, and the election and everything brings up lots of feelings for people. So you may have all sorts of feelings about that right now. Okay, so we may even dig into those feelings as we move through our feelings. One thing I do like about talking about feelings instead of talking about politics is that way feelings allows you to get really to the source, because a lot of people talk about politics because they're just angry. So if we directly talk about anger, we can have a healthier conversation, right? So, okay, so this is the Emotions for Dummies material. This is a class that's part of this material, which is called The Book of You. Okay, so I'm putting together this huge workbook. That's all on material to help you with your thoughts and feelings. And the first half of this material, which says Discovering Emotions and Questioning Beliefs, is what makes up this class called Emotions for Dummies. Okay. This is an actual college class. So just to explain who I am Dr. Donny. I'm a sociology professor at CSU East Bay in Hayward. I teach social emotional learning, in addition to also classes on race, class, gender, sexuality, all that good stuff. I also have a master's degree in cognitive psychology from the University of Toronto, and I am going back to school as of, well, I suppose tomorrow. That's orientations tomorrow. I'm going back to school to get a master's in counseling as well. Okay. So, and this material was put together through sort of a trial and error of learning about how to heal as a result of some stuff happening in my own family. And yeah, and all the healing that I had to learn how to do from that experience. Okay. This is my email address, drdonnyemo@gmail.com. So if anybody needs to hit me up about anything, feel free. Okay. So just to show you what this class contains, I designed this as a college course on feelings. So this really is going to get at all your feelings and really teach you some skills. This is no BS kind of thing here, okay? So week one is we're going to directly go into, which is today, we're going to go into our self-care plan. What do we do? How do we take care of ourselves? A little brief discussion about that. We're going to learn how to meditate today in case you've never done that before. We have an exercise on how to tell yourself the truth, because that's rather important. And then an exercise on healing from trauma. Okay, we got a discussion about healing from trauma, and then some exercises to help us release trauma. Okay, and we might more or less take this in this order. We might move one or two things around. Okay, and then just so you can see the rest of it, the next week, we have a list of emotions, so we can put our emotions into words. And we're going to talk about self-love, acceptance, and self-validation. Okay, we have an exercise, a meditation exercise on that. And then a Byron Katie Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. So that's a wonderful exercise that teaches us how to take the statements we make and turn them around about ourselves, so we can learn about our own judgments. We can take the judgments we make and learn more about us. It's a really wonderful process. Okay, and then the next week is emotional Vipassana, which is just meditating on emotions. We're gonna directly get deeper and deeper into emotions. And then a body scan meditation, which is all about essentially the emotions your body feels. Okay. And then finally, we're gonna put all of this stuff together in what's called the ego killer exercise. Okay, the ego killer. And we'll go into that when that time comes, but needless to say, it's a self-guided exercise where we go through several of the previous things in previous weeks all together for a maximum effect. And it's a really wonderful exercise for if you want to get real crystal clear about what's going on inside of you. It's a great exercise. You can sit down with yourself for an hour, go through this process, and it really, really works. Okay. And it's also the midterm for my college classes. Okay, so if anybody has anything to say at any time, please feel free. Otherwise, you know, we're gonna just launch right into this. And like I said, I like these videos to be very relaxing. In an ideal world, I suppose maybe I put on some soothing music in the background. And maybe periodically I might do that. But who knows what state you are in today, or generally. And so it's really important that, you know, to dig into our feelings, we have to be kind of relaxed. You know, an animal that is super tensed up and on the, you know, worried about getting attacked is not an animal that really wants to dig into their feelings and life history. That's not a good idea to do that at a survival mode time, right? So we got to create little pockets of safety for ourselves, for us to have spaces to work through our feelings. And the name of those pockets of safety are called self-care. Okay. Okay, that might be a foreign concept to somebody. So just take a moment and start thinking about, what the hell is self-care anyway? What would that even be? At either rate, this workbook is going to bring up all sorts of feelings. So we're doing this so we can know what is our honest go-tos for when we are triggered. Okay, and then we can start naming things that would be healthier, realistic options. Okay, and I wrote this way so that way it wouldn't be a judgmental thing. Okay, we all got stuff going on, and we have to be able to confront those things in sort of as open a manner as possible. Okay. Okay, so take some deep breaths. Breath is important because breath is always the center. And I'm always going to do these exercises with you, always. Okay, so I am healing too. So always notice your breath, because breath brings you back to the present moment. And just start thinking of some things that you know trigger you easily, just so you can get in touch with that feeling a little bit. Okay. Those things are not happening right now, hopefully for you. So just think about what a couple of those things are. You know, I can just name a couple myself. Would be watching the news. Seeing Trump on the news triggers me. Racism triggers me. Homelessness triggers me. Feeling like I'm working too hard but not getting enough, not getting my fair share. Feeling unjust triggers me. Okay, and just again, just focus on the breath and just notice your body. Just get in touch with your body. These are things going on in the world all the time. So just get in touch with how you're dealing, how you feel about those things. And that way you can make a decision. Do you even want to address those things when we talk about feelings or not? You know, you can always pick something that isn't nearly as triggering, so you can learn how these skills work, right? These are all tools in a toolkit we're learning here, right? So you may not want to pick, if you pick a saw, you can use a saw to hammer your whole hand off, or you can use a saw to, you know, cut a piece of wood. So let's just focus on the pieces of wood that we can handle and leave the bigger things for another day, okay? Okay, so now when you felt that stuff, when you feel something you can't handle, what is your honest go-to? What is your honest go-to? Oh, I said some of that stuff earlier to say, you know, you may want to read along with us if you're feeling it. And if you're not feeling it, you are totally welcome just to lay down some place that makes you feel relaxed and comfortable. Okay. This is all about getting in touch with your feelings. So this is all about getting in touch with your feelings. So if that means sitting in bed with a blanket over you and eating popcorn and smoking weed, then yeah, that's what you need to do. That is what you need to do. Okay. Whatever you need to do to feel comfortable and get in touch with your feelings. Okay, so when you feel something you can't handle, which might have been a recent experience for some of us, What is your honest go-to? So this is a time to see how honest we can be with ourselves. What is your honest go-to? Is it grabbing the marijuana? Grabbing a drink? Do you maybe run to a particular kind of friend because you know they will validate what you feel? Do you run to fast food? What is your honest go-to? We're just being honest with ourselves. Okay, and then what would be the healthier option? Healthier, realistic option? Well, it doesn't have to be realistic, because you know this is all about thinking, using our imagination to help out. Our imagination can help us here to deal with our feelings better. So just what would be a healthier option? That might be smoking half as much. It might be going for a run instead. Yeah, it might be trying a different kind of drink instead of the same drink you always drink all the time. It might be cooking a meal instead of fast food. What would be the healthier option for you when you feel something you can't handle? None of this is in the realm of blame, shame, and guilt. This is all just investigation. Okay, so then the next one is when you can tell you're about to cry. You can tell you're about to cry. You went to level 10. You are about to cry. What is your honest go-to? Some of us, I didn't learn how to cry until I was in my late 20s. So when I can tell I'm about to cry, my honest go-to was denial, suppression. For several years, until very recently, actually, my honest go-to, when I can tell I'm about to cry, I hit level 10. My honest go-to is fried chicken and champagne, okay? There's something about the crunchiness of the chicken and the heat and the protein and the sipping, the bubbles and the coldness and doing it all at once that just poof, just absolutely does it for me. Okay. And I have to say, it was an incredible comfort to reach a place where I knew I had something I could go to that would make me feel better no matter how painful my feelings became. It was just amazing. It wasn't all that healthy. Okay, maybe no, maybe not. But it was a place to start. It was a place to grow. And I'm thankful for that. And then what would be the healthier option? Okay, what would be the healthier option? Maybe one less piece of chicken. Maybe I don't down the whole bottle of champagne. Maybe it's just half the bottle or just the glass. Maybe I decide to meditate while I'm drinking the champagne. Maybe I call a friend. Maybe I try to get a good night's sleep. The important thing here is just to think of what would be the healthier option. Maybe I actually, just put my feelings into words. Rome was not built in a day. Can we just get one step better? One step better, baby steps. Okay, and then maybe anything else, you want to maybe work on, think about what's important for you in terms of getting in touch with your feelings. There's just things that's good to know. And then anything that might be related to your self-care, something that might make you feel better, something you like to say to yourself a lot. A popular saying I have for me is love is letting go. I could tell you the story of how I came up with that, but I'll save it for another time. But love is letting go is something I tell myself a lot to help me get through the hard times, okay? Like now. Okay, so let me go back to the chat for 1 second, just because, I wanted to post that, I wanted to post the link to this Emotions for Dummies stuff in case any new wonderful people showed up. Where's that chat? Let's see, here we go. So in case you didn't get the link earlier, here you go. Just posting it there. And when I put this on YouTube later, I will also post this to the I'll post this in the comments or the video feed also, so that way everybody can get access to this stuff. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna just launch right into meditation. Okay, now you might already be in a somewhat meditative state because you might be actually taking what I said seriously and just letting yourself relax. And that would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. So I'm just going to repeat it. Whatever you're feeling is valid. Let yourself feel whatever you're feeling right now. But what's very important is to create a space of self-care, a comfortable, relaxing space so that we can process our feelings. Okay? Somebody on the run. Somebody in survival mode on the run, it's not easy to process the feelings, okay? If you're in that state. And you may be there at this point, So it's important just to see what we can do to create pockets of safety inside ourselves, moments of self-care, okay? And that's what this is all about. Okay, so whatever you need to feel comfortable, I say go for it. If that's lying in bed, go for it. If you want to read along, go for it. If you would rather just lie in bed and pull the blankets over you, go for it. If you'd rather make dinner and listen to this, I say go for it. I say go for it, okay? You can always take a look at this later. Okay, read this stuff later, okay? And I'm gonna read it all. This is all very self-guided, okay? Okay, so we're just going to go right into the meditation, and then I'm going to read this wonderful stuff to you. Okay, so if you've never meditated before, this is going to be, my take on meditation. Okay, and this is really sort of the beginnings of it. So it's really all, for me, it's all about sinking into your inner world. Okay, and we start off with doing that by getting in touch with our breath. A lot of people got ideas about meditation as, these wizened looking people sitting on lotus flowers and our pillows and that kind of thing, looking all spiritual. But a lot of that's called spiritual bypassing, okay? Real spirituality is about really getting in touch with what's really going on inside of you, and that can often look much less pleasant, okay? So the way we really get in touch with ourselves, first and foremost, is the breath. Because the breath connects us to the present moment, whether we like it or not, whether you like the present moment or not. You're always breathing, okay? The general assumption of life is that if you're living, you're breathing, okay? Human life, anyway. So just notice your breath, and then we can bring qualities to it. Okay, is your breathing deep or is it shallow? Is it in the chest? Is it in the belly? Mindfulness is about examining your quality of life. Most of the time we are caught up in doing things, but we are not human doings. We are human beings. Thus, when we examine our lives with mindfulness, we are moving deeper into our state of being in the world. For example, let's use breathing as our example today. We breathe all the time, but don't even think about it. But with mindfulness, we would take time to examine the things we do. So we may notice how the breath moves in through our nostrils, the smell of the air, the push of our breath against our chest, the feeling of our belly underneath our lungs. Well, the example I gave here was the phone. Even with our phones, for example, an ordinary activity where we may not put any thought into it at all. We just flip, flip, swipe, swipe. With mindfulness, we might take the time to examine each button you press, each letter you type, the layout of the app. So this is all about examining the quality of what we are doing, not just the doing of it. In traditional old school meditation, we develop mindfulness by sitting in silence and being with our thoughts. Hey, P.S., how are your thoughts going right now? Just notice your thoughts. Are thoughts happening right now? More than likely. But just notice what's coming up in your brain right now. Any sensations, any thoughts, just notice. So the idea in traditional meditation is that eventually, sitting with your thoughts, eventually you learn to treat yourself with compassion. Okay, some of us get there faster than others though. The story of the Buddha is that he was a naive prince who left his palace and saw suffering or stress in the world and vowed to end it. After several failed attempts, he sat underneath a tree and began to sink into his thoughts. And from this, he came to realize that wanting things, desire, is what led to suffering. Today, we would expand this to say that one, thought is not real. Thinking and imagination are the same thing. Thinking and imagination are the same thing. But the first one reduces and represses, while the other one expresses and unrepresses. Okay, that's kind of big there. Two, thoughts, beliefs, and concepts shape what we think is reality. The brain only responds to thoughts, not reality. So technically, imagination makes reality like a hologram on top of reality. Okay, take that in for a second there. And then three, all stress comes from believing thoughts that don't line up with reality. What happens in life is information. Our feelings about it come from our unconscious use of the 5 frustrations of life: our assumptions and expectations, beliefs and attachments, judgments and comparisons, preferences and requirements, and attempts to manipulate and control things beyond our ego. Okay, just notice those thoughts. Are you still breathing? Are you still breathing? Are you sure? Has your breath changed? Did your mental energy shift from the breath to the mind, then move back and forth? Just notice. Not here to judge, just notice. I can definitely say reading this, my energy moved from the brain to my lungs, back and forth. The human brain is truly amazing. It has 2 major sections: our frontal lobe, which is responsible for abstract thought, planning, judgment, and our back brain, the limbic system and amygdala, which processes emotions. This part is also more connected to our spinal cord, our heart and stomach, our gut, which research also shows have neurons surrounding them that create our deep in the heart feelings and gut reactions. In fact, our brains have 100 billion neurons, making 10,000 connections with each other, doing 50 processes at the same time. Unfortunately, this means the human mind can think 80,000 thoughts a day, or 1.5 thoughts a second. Okay, 80,000 thoughts a day, 1.5 thoughts a second. Worse, 98% of those thoughts are just repeated over and over. Even worse, some argue that 80% of those thoughts are negative. So add to this the fact that only 20% of the brain is conscious, the other 80% is unconscious, and it's clear how our mind can be our worst enemy. Putting a bunch of unconscious negative thoughts on repeat guarantees you will focus on what you lack, blocking your ability to be open-minded, question anything, or develop stillness and mindfulness. In contrast, Buddhism offers cultivating positive thoughts of gratitude and thankfulness. Genuinely finding the good, and especially the good in what we think is bad, shifts our mind into a friend or a space of more support and possibility. Hey, so notice what came up when I said all that stuff about the mind being negative, being on repeat, constantly thinking. See what came up in your mind. Hey, you want to try the advanced thing? What's one good thing? Can you be thankful for your mind right now? Show some gratitude. Is that possible? Anything about your mind you can say you're thankful for? Thankful it got me this far. Thankful for all the tests I crammed into it. All the ways maybe I even abused my mind. I'm thankful. I'm very thankful. Maybe I should even say I'm sorry. Please forgive me. These days, modern physics, spiritual people, and hippies all agree that with the creation of the Big Bang came the creation of consciousness itself. Despite that, many people feel that meditation is boring. Well, it is. When we meditate, we are boring into our inner universe, which is just as vast as the outer universe. So, boredom brings us to the kingdom, or queendom, if that's, if you prefer to hear it that way. Each person is a total inner universe of things separate from other people. It is our inner world that shapes how we make sense of our outer world. To help us with our thoughts and feelings and to greatly expand our consciousness, in this class we will learn a variety of techniques for developing mindfulness. Okay, so just check in with yourself here. How's that breathing going? Are you still breathing? Are you willing to slow down your breath? Get even more relaxed? How well are you doing at creating an inner space of safety for you to open up to that baby soft vulnerability there? How's that going? Okay. Feel free, whatever other things you need. We're going to do some other exercises later, but if you want to give yourself a hug right now, or something that shows you care, you know what I'm saying? Whatever that is. Right before this came on, I actually meant to start cooking some beans. That would have been my way of showing care. That's okay. I'll make the beans later. It's okay. Coming on here and doing this is my way of showing care too, because really is important for me that every time I do these exercises, I always do them. With all my students, I always take it very seriously. I do the exercise. I would never do these exercises or just read them and expect you to do them and I don't do them. So always. Okay, so that's how to meditate, and feel free to stay in your meditative phase. You can stay there the entire class, okay? In fact, actually, let's do that. Let's talk about trauma. Let's just go straight there. So I said give yourself a hug. find things that make you feel better. But I was saying all that because we're going to talk about healing from trauma. Maybe I'll say some words first, just so we can have a little breather before I launch into this. I'm about to just talk about myself for a second, if you all don't mind. And, you know, there's a chat window. So if anybody has something you want to say, please feel free to post it in the chat window as soon as I figure out how to get there. There we go. Okay. Feel free to say whatever you'd like to say so we can talk about it, okay? But if I could just open up about myself for a second here. You know, I went through a lot of crap 3 years ago in my life. I discovered some family secrets that came up to the surface. And I don't want to get into all the details because it's not exactly my place to maybe share all of that. But those secrets came up to the surface, and when they came up to the surface, I had to make some very serious decisions about how did I feel about being a part of my family. And let's just put it out here like this. I am someone who has a very low tolerance for things like sexual abuse. I mean, I'm a sociologist and a psychologist, and I'm all about health and healing, and you know, I'm all about overcoming, you know, your struggles. I'm a gay man. I mean, these days I identify as a two-spirit person, but you know, I grew up in a super racist, homophobic environment. And I made a decision very early on in my life. I didn't want to be anything like that whatsoever, none. Okay. So for that reason, I put a lot of work into being somebody who really is trying to, you know, who just isn't about that kind of energy. Okay. But that has led me to make some pretty serious decisions about saying I love my family very much, and they're not what I need to heal. And not only that, just acknowledging that I went through straight up a lot of trauma as a child and ongoing grief and trauma well into my 20s because of those experiences, those childhood experiences. And you know, the nice thing is, as an adult, life's going pretty okay for me. You know, I was able to, I got a nice job. I do work I believe in. I'm very thankful. So it's possible, you know, to just kind of push all that stuff that happened to me into a corner, it's in the past. And what I've learned since then is that's just not true. None of that's true. It's just, you know, the past keeps getting recreated in your mind until you actually work through it. And a big part of working through it, a big chunk of it is just actually acknowledging the reality of what it is. So, and that's not easy. It's just not easy, okay? But that is what is meant by what it takes to heal from trauma. And so I just think it's really helpful because a lot of us don't really even know exactly what trauma is or the effects of it. So this whole workbook is very trauma informed, which is a whole phrase that's used now, right? Okay, so this whole workbook is very trauma informed, and this worksheet is specifically about what you need to do to heal from it. Okay, and it's one part an explanation of what you need to do, the process, and then it's one part a series of exercises that we can all do to help us work through our trauma. Okay, so you can do these exercises anytime you're meditating. You can do these exercises when you wake up at 2 a.m. in a panic attack, which I suffer from. You can do all these sorts of exercises. Okay, and I'm going to do the exercises so you know them. Okay. You feel free to do them along with me. You may want to, like, you know, get out of bed and watch me do them. Or again, if you're not feeling it, I am going to narrate all the exercises too, so that way you know exactly what I'm doing. You can always watch the video later. Okay. Okay. So like I said, stay whatever you're feeling, stay with your feelings. This material comes from the books Journey Through Trauma by Gretchen Smelzer and the Tao of Fully Feeling and Complex CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. Pete Walker is in the Bay Area. After I finished the book, I emailed him and I told him thank you for this book. Okay, trauma is defined as an experience or event that overwhelms your capacity to depend on or protect yourself, leaving you with feelings of terror, horror, and helplessness. Since the body processes physical and emotional pain the same way, physical trauma and emotional trauma are the same thing. Sure, a family death or car accident, but also things like road rage on our commute, getting bad news we didn't expect, or suddenly remembering something painful from the past. Oh, I should just say, when I was telling my story about myself, getting this information about my family unearthed all my childhood trauma. Okay, that's what happened. Other kinds of trauma can be cultural, like sexism, historical, like transatlantic African slavery, or psychic, like being told you would never amount to anything in the future. Trauma can leave us with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, where our brain copes by developing flashbacks, being easily startled, nightmares, and difficulty concentrating or eating or sleeping. Repeated trauma, however, like child abuse, domestic violence, or war, is more complicated. So it leads to CPTSD, complex PTSD, where instead of trying to cope, our brains learn to shut off, go numb, and forget or go unconscious, and put up walls around our feelings so we don't have to constantly re-experience the pain. Trauma hits the pre-verbal areas of the brain, leaving us howling in fear or frozen in silence. These symptoms are often misdiagnosed as other things when we don't acknowledge the trauma. While these coping mechanisms may have kept you safe when the trauma was happening, as adults, they can keep us stuck in survival mode, afraid of the world, and unable to move on and really live life. Healing from trauma is literally one of the hardest things to do. These feelings can resurface at any time, and trauma can make it hard to even open to the idea of help altogether. We have to relearn developmental milestones like basic trust, faith in the world, learning self-confidence, self-compassion, healthy boundaries, identity formation, even the ability to relax. After a lifetime of protecting yourself psychologically and physically to survive, you now have to dismantle all the defenses, protections, problematic behaviors, and habits in your life. Other people, even friends and loved ones who haven't been through or don't acknowledge their trauma, may be unable to understand or validate what you are going through. Often our trauma is connected to our relationships with people who are supposed to love us. So people in itself can be re-traumatizing. If you're interested though, you can Google #peopling if you would like some validation for those feelings and a laugh. Okay, healing from trauma is not a linear one and done process. It takes a lot of time and a lot of rest. Also, we have to heal as life goes on, so doing this healing work can feel like having a second job. But the good news is we've already survived the worst of it, the trauma itself. The key to healing is to acknowledge what happened, what didn't or should have happened, and how did you cope with it all. So to heal, we move repeatedly through 5 phrases: preparation, unintegration, identification, integration, and consolidation. Okay, so the rest of this is explaining each step one at a time. Okay, if you want to get the most out of this, because like I always say, you never know how you're feeling right now. So if you would like to get the most out of this, one thing I might suggest is you may want to think about something that is traumatic for you. Okay, I'm not suggesting pick a level 10, but we mentioned the series of triggers earlier. You may want to have a moment where you will let yourself feel a little bit of that trigger so you can kind of like go through this process as we go through the worksheet. Okay, pick something low on the scale, a bad road rage, for example. You could go with that, road rage. Seeing Trump on the news again, okay? Okay, number 1 is preparation. Develop an awareness of your thoughts and feelings. Self-check, self-care, check-ins. Assess and store your internal and external resources, physical, emotional health, and safety. What do you really need or definitely don't need so that you can handle these feelings? Yeah, this can take a while and can make you nervous if your trauma was connected to being silent or staying unaware to stay safe. Showing up for you and finding dependable others teaches us to relearn trust, which lets us feel safe, be willing to explore, have hope and gratitude, and to be patient and persevere, things we might not have gotten in our lives. 2 is unintegration. To heal, we have to give ourselves permission to totally fall apart and regress back to being a child, back to when we were innocent. Find a safe space where you can let down all the walls without the need to pull yourself together. This will move the numbness and bring up all the broken pieces of pain, fear of feeling, helplessness, shame, violated boundaries, and attachment wounds. So straight up, it's gonna feel totally shitty. Expect to be caught off guard, irritable, off balance, uncomfortable, and scared. Whew, that's so true. That's so true. You can even temporarily lose the ability to speak. Children do this very well, but as adults, we train ourselves to be in control and keep it together all the time, so we don't give our brain a true chance to reset and relearn. Use trust and safety to see what you can handle, and then slowly learn to handle a little more. This will create a container so that you can heal and still manage your daily life. Okay. Next is identification. Okay, so there you go. Preparation, can I handle this? Unintegration, fall apart and let yourself feel it through. Okay, you don't even have to talk it out. Fall apart and feel it through. The next is identification. After working with the pure feelings, we can discuss our trauma story and coping mechanisms. Trauma messes with all forms of memory. The story of our trauma can be an adult retelling with coherent sentences, or it may be childhood fragments of words, sounds, smells, and emotions. Sometimes it helps to reenact the story, not just speak it to get the feelings out. Recognize the abuse and neglect. If you can't make sense of a feeling, ask, what would someone listening to me feel? Focus on what is true for you. Believe you, support you. This takes time and practice, so go slowly so you don't feel like your world is falling apart. You can fall back into lots of feelings of grieving, worry, and doom, so it's okay to go back to unintegration. Well, I was going to say, if you can't make sense of a feeling, you can ask, what would someone listening to me feel? You can also ask, if this feeling was a person, what would it do? So then, you can act it out. Acting it out can really be very, very powerful, okay? Like that feeling might just want to scream, so you just scream. Very powerful. Yeah, a coping mechanism, in case you don't know what this is, a coping mechanism is something we engage in to feel safe, or so that we don't have to deal with feelings we don't like. Our first coping mechanism is usually other people, then fight or flight, then freeze or collapse. Literally anything can be a coping mechanism, like disconnecting from feelings or the present moment, hypervigilance, extreme rules to keep you safe, or extreme emotional walls that let no one in, obsessive compulsive thinking, constantly fidgeting or checking your phone, living constantly in your imagination, drugs, food, and sex, constantly staying busy, constantly talking to yourself, codependent relationships, always people-pleasing, always feeling helpless, afraid to feel all together, being super critical to ourselves or others, being stuck on negative and always expecting the worst, extreme narcissism, bullying others, relentlessly hoping things could have been different or better or not really true or as bad as you remember. I got some of those. Social isolation, etc. All of these things allow us to stay in denial about how the abuse we suffered is affecting us now. Allow yourself to identify them and how they make you feel. Remember, we develop these habits to survive, so be thankful to yourself and be kind to any resistance you may have also. Okay, and then I have a space here, so just take a moment. Why don't we do that right now? Take a moment and just think about any of these coping mechanisms. Which ones are your immediate go-tos? You know, this will be a meditation here. What are your go-to? Well, first of all, I just have to say this one. Mine is relentlessly hoping things could have been different or better or as bad as you remember, but particularly the different or better. Being constantly critical. You know, being constantly critical can make you a great college professor, but being constantly critical can really wreak havoc in your life. You know what I'm saying? Food. All day, you know, I mentioned that thing about those beans, but all day I've also been thinking about just buying a pizza. And I was thinking, you know, I could go and get me like a nice pizza from this restaurant here that would be like, you know, 15, 20 bucks. Or honestly, just to save money, I could just go get like a Little Caesars pizza and it'd be like $7. And sure, it's not nearly as great as this other pizza's gonna be, but $7. And the pizza's so large, like the last time I bought one, I had to make 2 lunches out of it. So I mean, that's $3.50 a meal. I mean, what a deal. So anyway, thinking about food, binge eating food sometimes, eating unhealthy food to help me deal with stress, marijuana. I started getting like little fun games on my phone. I have all sorts of social isolation stuff going on with me right now, especially since all this stuff started happening. Okay, so just sit with some of that, you know. Your body is doing these coping mechanisms to keep you safe. We don't need to judge ourselves here. We're just getting in touch with a part of us that's trying to keep us safe. Self-care. Self-care. You know, maybe one day these things might be healthier. We can move all these things into a healthier category. But for today, this is what we are. Loving ourselves for who we are as we are in this moment is like one of the best self-care things we can do. You know, what an amazing thing the human mind would even have all those tools to take care of itself in so many unhealthy ways. What an amazing thing. Okay, so then after you identify those things, next is integration. Now we can start to create a new story and find healthier ways to deal with our feelings in life. How can we retell our trauma story in a way that empowers us and acknowledges how we really feel? We can use our imagination to question our assumptions and retell the story, but include all the things that we wished would have happened instead so we can give ourselves the love and support we wanted. This is called reparenting ourselves. We can also question our inner voice or inner critic that we developed from our caregivers that may not be serving us well. This is also the time to question all of those coping mechanisms. What works, what doesn't, what would serve you better? All this takes practice, like baby steps, or moving from a bad first draft towards something better and better. So be patient and understanding and try like a child, without judgment and full of play. Learn to express yourself in all kinds of new ways so you can feel freedom, wonder, and possibility. Take back your right to say no, make mistakes, and change your mind. Listen to other people's trauma stories. Okay, so let the feelings out. Then you retell the story and identify the unhealthy stuff. Then you find a healthier way to retell that story. Just for the record, I just want to say, I was thinking, I said all those things my brain was doing is unhealthy, but maybe what really makes it unhealthy is the way I'm going about it. Drinking a whole lot is unhealthy, but if I had tied it to certain social events to maybe get a better job or something, maybe there might be more of a healthier purpose to it, Just trying to be open-minded here. That's all I'm saying. That open-mindedness, I will say, though, feels a lot more loving than simply judging myself as unhealthy. That's what I'm also feeling in this moment. Okay. Okay, and then the final phase is consolidation. And the final phase is mostly one of rest, so that all this healing can set and create a new you. All learning healing requires rest. Do things like sleep, watch TV, focus on your new life, try something new. I cannot sleep. Please sleep. There's so much to be said for sleep. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Sleep in the daytime, sleep after breakfast, sleep, 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 sleep. Okay. Get used to feeling just fine and doing mundane things without drama and conflict. Being at peace can feel real odd at first. As you build strength, you can go back to the preparation phase for what trauma is left. Again, this is a repeated process. Going through it over and over and over and over and over and over and over is how you build up the ability to heal the things you haven't yet addressed. Remember, take it in baby steps that you can handle. Inch by inch, life is a pinch. Yard by yard, life is hard. Okay? Okay, so that's the process. So here's a series of exercises to help us get in touch with how to release trauma. Okay? Now hold on just 1 second here before I go further. I just want to see what the world looks like here. Looks like all my lovely participants, I think the word trauma came up and it looks like they all went, oh, no, I gotta go. Okay, so that's fair. Valid. So I just want to say, whoever is watching this video, hopefully you did not have that reaction, I want to say. Or hopefully you're willing to come back and view this video at a later time. Okay. This is some useful information. And I thought about how to discuss trauma in the context of all this emotional stuff. And this stuff on trauma came a lot later in the beginning. But then I realized, like, a big reason why some people have such a hard time with their feelings is directly because of trauma. It's because of trauma. So directly going here is the kindest thing I can do for helping us to get in touch with our feelings. Okay. Well, that's how I feel about it anyway. Okay, so here's a list of exercises to help us process our difficult emotions. Many of them look awkward and silly, but they're all based on strong trauma research that you can go verify yourself, because I put the links, okay? So please try them during your meditation practice or anytime you feel triggered or having a hard time feeling. And number one is just breathing. And we've been doing this, okay? So you're already an expert on how to take care of some trauma. Okay, just notice your breathing. You're breathing whether you want to or not. Breathing always connects us to the present moment. Okay, is your breathing deep or shallow, in the chest or in the belly? One thing you may want to try is breathe slowing down your breath. One breath at a time. In for 4, out for 4. In for 3, out Or actually, let's slow it down. Might be increase. So let's go in for 5. Out for 5. In for 6. Out for 6. Let's do one more. In for 7. Out for 7. Pause and feel. I really appreciated that because I could feel something in my lower back relaxing. Okay, the next one is breathing fast. So maybe let's try in for 5. Out for 5. In for 4. Out for 4. And 3. 2. And then a couple of 1s. Okay, pause and feel. Pause and feel. We're just playing with the breath here, okay? You might have a panic attack. Sometimes breathing fast can help you trick up a panic attack. It can help you release you from it. And it can help push feelings up. Breathing slow, I find, helps relax, but breathing fast can help agitate you. Sometimes you need to get agitated to bring feelings up to the surface. Okay, next is forceful out breath. Okay, deep breath in, push the breath out. Okay. The point is to force the breath out, okay? Deep breath in and force it out. Okay, pause and feel. You can always use your cheeks or your teeth or your stomach as resistance. Pause and feel. Okay, next is consciously holding it in. Okay, see if you can just hold your breath for as long as you want. And then breathe. Then hold it in again. And breathe. Maybe one more time, just hold it in. I find this is helpful when, like, if someone is talking to you and they won't stop talking and you're not even like contributing to the conversation, you just stop breathing. It helps you to track time real well. Okay, breathe, 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 breathe. Okay, pause and feel. And finally, nostril breathing. Nostril breathing is in through one nostril, out through the other nostril. In through one nostril, out through the other nostril. In through one, out through the other. And pause and feel. Okay, so you can see all these exercises play with your breath. Something you just naturally have right there at your fingertips. That easy. Excuse me. You can play with your breath all the time. Okay, to get in touch with your feelings. Whew. Okay, next is trauma yoga. Trauma yoga. So trauma makes us shut down and close up. We tend to shut down when we're traumatized. So exercises that open up the body can help us. Okay. And the list of exercises we're doing here are just exercises I picked because these are all things you can do in the chair, since most of my students are college students, are in a college environment. Okay. First one is shoulder taps. Just tapping the shoulder. And we can bring some mindfulness to this, you know. Just notice your shoulders. Notice your neck. Is it all turning? Notice your spine. Is your spine turning? Just notice. Okay. Pause and feel. Okay, next is a face stretch. So the first face stretch, you might have heard of it before, it's called a smile. Okay. So go for a really big one, a huge smile. Okay. Try to hold it for like 10 seconds. Really go for it, okay? Okay, pause and feel. Pause and feel. Okay, the next one's less invasive, just lifting the eyebrows. Just lifting the eyebrows. Just that process alone, that look of shock, surprise, opens you up. Okay, you don't have to do it for a purpose. You can just do it for your own, like, you know, on your own time. Just lift the eyebrows. Okay, pause and feel. Okay, next is the neck stretch. You know, just basic, simple little stretching, moving our head side to side. I don't know if you can hear all those pops and cracks just now. Oh, simple neck stretch. Okay, you can also, the next one is arm raises. You can just go ahead and just get a whole stretch going on here, okay? You can just get some arm raises going on here. Get those shoulder blades. Oh, my back. Oh, get those shoulder blades going. Oh. Okay. Okay, and then the next one is sticking out your tongue. I didn't mention saying a sound, but you can make a sound also. Sticking out your tongue loosens all of your jaw muscles, which often get tense when we are traumatized. If something bad happens to you, you clench up your jaw, right? So sticking out your tongue. Making a noise or not, I think making the noise is kind of fun, but that loosens all those muscles. Okay. Pause and feel. Okay, and we have one final one. This is also one that might be a foreign concept to you. Hopefully not, though. Is that better? Let's see. Oh, that's so bright. Right in my face, too. Here's another one. It's called the hug. Okay, just give yourself a hug. That's why I mentioned it earlier for this moment. Okay, see what it's like to give yourself a hug. And whatever you feel is valid. You may feel awkward. You may feel happy. You may this might make you feel, just realize just how lonely you really are. It might be a good feeling or a bad feeling. Whatever you feel, just see what it feels like to give yourself a hug. Notice if you've already put your hands down because you held yourself for 2 seconds and then felt uncomfortable, and put your hands down. Okay. Just see what it's like. See where you grab yourself. Give yourself a real hug. I read you need 12 hugs a day to really thrive. And you need at least 3 to survive. So by that measure, how many hugs did you get today? Since COVID-19 and I don't have classes anymore, I don't have nearly as many hugs as I was getting before. Okay. Although for what it's worth, there's this guy that I'm kind of interested in, and I've been getting a couple of hugs from him. Kind of, it's been pretty nice actually. But. Okay, so pause and feel. Pause and feel. Okay. Okay, the next ones are going to get a little bit more invasive here. Okay, so this one's called trauma release exercises. Sorry, let me line this up a little bit better here. Oh. Okay, so some wise person studied animals, and they realized that when animals are hunted in the wild, they, do their fight or flight response. They run away, and then when they're free, the first thing they do is they shake off all the energy. Okay. Well, it turns out human beings do the exact same thing because we have all the exact same muscles. It's just that we don't do it because by society's standards, we're trained to sort of keep it together. So when trauma happens to us as adults, we tend to freeze, play it cool, maintain, that kind of thing. That makes sense in the social world we live in. But the natural animalistic thing to do is to shake it off. So this is really all about letting yourself relax and shake it off. And particularly shaking the muscle that is in your inner thighs, because with the psoas muscle, which is the muscle that connects your legs to the trunk of your body, because a lot of trauma is in that area. Okay. So the ideal thing is, some of us automatically shake all the time. We have restless leg syndrome and we shake our legs. So the idea here is to let yourself shake. Don't stop it. Don't fight it. Just to really go into it. Just really, just let yourself just really shake it out. Really shake it out. Okay. And pause and feel. Now it's not so easy to do with the microphone in my ear and on a video, but if you're in bed, you can easily just shake it out. Okay, the next one is the emotional freedom technique, or tapping. This one's kind of popular, so a lot of people know it now. But basically, you just tap various parts of your body to move the energy around. So what I like to do is one hand, the other hand, forehead, heart. Oh, let's do forehead, under the eyes, heart, stomach, and then the knees. And then you can put messages with this as well, like all the stress going on right now, all this crazy stress, I feel, all the stuff going on right now. All this crazy stress I feel with all the stuff going on right now. Under the eyes. I feel all this stress in my body and I can't take it anymore. Heart. I cannot take any of this stress. Stomach. All this stress, and knees. And then you can say something else like, I let go of all this stress. I let go of all this stress so I can feel peace. I let go of all this stress so I can feel peace and freedom. I let go of all the stress I'm holding on to so I can feel peace. I feel my heart letting go of all this stress so peace can come in. I let go of stress. Ooh, I let go of stress. You can even slow it down too. Pause and feel. Okay. And the last one I have here is one I saw recently called sleep tapping, which is you tap your heart. I like doing it this way, alternating my hands. You tap your heart like this, get a rhythm going. And then you just put a message like sleep. And then you slow the rhythm down. Sleep. Sleep. And then the action of slowing it all down brings you to a more restive state. Okay. Okay. So the next one is called EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And in short, some smart person realized that if you move your eyeballs from one end of the visual field to another, your front brain will process what it's looking at, and your back brain will process feelings on its own. And so in this, what EMDR does is move from one end, move your finger from one end of your visual field to the other, get those eyeballs moving. Okay. And just notice after about maybe 20 seconds or so, you will notice, you'll start to feel things like shifting in your brain. And once you've done this for a while, you don't need to continue holding your finger. You can just move your eyeballs side to side like this. You could say the same thing, like, I feel all this stress, I release all this stress. Feel all this stress, I release all this stress. I release all this stress. Oh, I'm so thankful we're doing this. Oh, I release all this stress. Pause and feel. Okay. Whew. Okay. Whew. And then our final one here is crying, screaming, and whining. Crying and screaming is the body's natural way to unrepressed trauma. Whining is high-pitched emotional utterances that let out our feelings of stress and fear. However, many of us are taught, boys don't cry, suck it up, put a lid on it, play cool, or be quiet or it'll get worse, instead of letting it out. Okay, so in case you've never cried before, find a place where you feel super safe, like a bedroom, into a pillow, in your car, under a blanket. Put on sad music or remember something sad. Put your hands on your heart and sink into the energy there. Let yourself sink down to the bottom of the pain. Don't cry for 2 seconds and go back to normal. It's not pleasant, but it will help your body process the feelings. Oh yeah, so we often have a tendency to, when we cry, we get upset, and then we get real upset, and then we kind of have 2 seconds tear, and then we pick it back up and try to go back to normal. Okay, so that's understandable. It's just, again, if we let ourselves sink to the bottom, it'll be a gut-wrenching cry, But then we'll have one gut-wrenching cry instead of constantly trying to cry something up 2 tears at a time. Okay. Screaming pushes out the feelings so you can cry them up. It also teaches you to use your voice if you have ever been forced to be silent. Okay, and then finally there's whining. Whining is letting out our stress by emoting sounds of frustration. It's more about feelings than rational complaints. So instead of, oh, school is full of unfair requirements, it's emotionally more productive to say, school is too damn hard. Or just a straight up, okay? Now, needless to say, going at a board meeting probably wouldn't work out well for you, okay? But on an emotional level, in terms of getting in touch with your feelings, it is actually way more productive to just go, ow, than it is to go, oh, I really don't like school, and let me give you a list of reasons why. Okay? That's what I discovered. Okay? Also, one final thing I discovered is if you get really upset, you can put all these exercises together, and I call it the losing it exercise, okay? But basically, you can just tap your head instead of your heart, and then move your eyes from side to side, and I can't do it all at the same time though. You can tap, move your eyes side to side, and breathe. You can breathe real fast and whine. You can intermittently breathe and whine. So you can tap, move your eyes side to side, and breathe and whine. Oh, and pause. Okay, and I'm sure that looks absolutely batshit crazy, okay? But believe it or not, that really works really, 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 really well. Mm. Mm. Well, basically, yeah, I figured out you can just put all these exercises together so you can get the maximum benefit out of it, okay? And it looks weird as all get out, but it works, okay? I discovered this a few weeks ago and it works, so I highly recommend that. I call that the losing it. And it literally looks like you're losing it, okay? It looks like a little kid losing it, right? I'm not saying beat yourself up here, but I'm noticing just the tapping, the eye movement, the breathing, it just pushes everything up. It pushes everything up. So if you ever have a panic attack, which like I said, I suffer from regularly, give that exercise a shot, okay? Okay, so with the remainder of our time here, for the final part of our class, we have one exercise for touching our feelings, and that is telling yourself the truth, okay? But our exercise for telling yourself the truth is going to involve looking at specific feelings, okay? Okay, so I put this here because, and we're doing this now, because I realized that digging into your feelings is great, but if you don't actually tell yourself the truth about what you're feeling, you'll just blame someone else for your feelings. Yeah, and that's understandable if you blame someone else for your feelings. It's just that it won't help you to feel better. And in the long run, you'll have to take responsibility for them anyway. So there's that, okay? So this is how to tell yourself the truth. And this comes from a person named Teal Swan. She's this wonderful psychic healer person who has a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos of all various subjects. Okay, an absolute genius. Okay, so if you don't know who this person is, please check them out. Okay. Obviously, telling the truth is an important part of developing a strong, healthy relationship with ourselves and others. For many of us, however, the truth can either be too uncomfortable or scary to embrace, especially when the truth may force us to alter our sense of reality or identity. We often don't tell the truth when something happens that we can't handle emotionally, such as when we're in danger, when we risk losing something important, when who we actually are isn't good enough to get what we want, or when we're trained by parents, adult society, or ourselves into denial, rejection, rationalizations, and avoidance as coping mechanisms. While we often treat the truth as something stable, permanent, and objective, like universal truth, most truth is one part what people believe or all agree is accurate, and one part how your subjective emotional range is reacting to information. Our personal truth may be totally different from someone else's or what society says is true. In Buddhism, telling the truth is always balanced against compassion. Saying true things without kindness can be cruel, and saying kind things that are not true, or what lies, can lead to mistrust and hurt. So, one way to deal with the difficult feelings around the truth is to explore our emotional range from negative to positive. A full truth involves expressing all of your anger, hurt, fear, understanding, and love. You can use the fingers of your hand as a way to remember this. Find a problem or issue about your life, yourself, or the world that you feel is causing you stress. Start with anger, and for each one, allow yourself to get out all of the thoughts and feelings you are having before you go on to the next one. When you get to 4, understanding, also examine the frustrations of life, our assumptions and expectations, beliefs, judgments, comparisons, preferences, requirements, and attempts to manipulate and control. If you have trouble with anger, try other words like frustrated or bothered, or try sadness or stress. Remember, you can always choose whether you want to tell someone else the truth, because they may or may not want to hear it. But if you lie to yourself, you risk throwing your whole world into confusion and unconscious self-sabotage. Since you don't have all the info you would need to take responsibility and make good decisions, everything you do to address your problems won't work either, which can lead to hopelessness, resentment, and deep insecurities. In contrast, the truth gives us a solid, powerful foundation to build a life based on honesty and integrity. Or as they say, the truth will set you free. Okay, so here's our final exercise. Anger, hurt, fear, understanding, and love. You just pick a topic and then go through all your feelings about each one before moving on to the next one. Okay, so let's see. What's mine going to be today? Boy, what am I going to pick? There's a few things I could pick. One, Kamala Harris being vice president is kind of bringing up how angry I still am about Bernie Sanders getting shafted last time around and this time around. I'm angry about that. And, I have an ongoing anger around racism. and I'm having some social anxiety stuff I'm going through. Well, you know what? Let's pick racism. Because, I can tie racism into anything, can't I, in America, or in the world, really. So let's go with racism. So racism makes me really angry. I'm angry at racism because racism is just adds stress onto my life. I'm angry at racism because so many people are getting disadvantaged for no fault of their own. I'm angry at racism because it's such an incredible waste of energy to judge other people just based on their skin color and not knowing any other information. I'm angry at racism because all this extra stress just makes it harder for me to thrive and live my life and make things happen, even though I'm trying to be someone who overcomes racism, or be someone who isn't a racist myself, or someone who can look beyond other people's racism so I can be a better human being or make the world a better place. So I have to, it's just stress on top of stress. I'm angry that people put their energy into racism when we're in a world that literally is on the verge of climate collapse. We can't even get over racism. Okay, any more anger? Let me see. Any more anger? I'm angry at how much racism makes me shut down and not want to connect with people. I'm angry at a whole lifetime, childhood of moments where I got treated differently and worse than my white counterparts. I can also say I'm angry that I have to constantly go places and be concerned for my safety. I'm hurt. Okay, let's move to hurt. I feel it. I'm hurt that I constantly have to go places and be concerned for my safety. I'm hurt that so many of my ancestors have been treated so badly, harmed, been given so much harm, given so little opportunity, given so much to overcome for no reason. I'm hurt by all the unfairness of all of it. I'm hurt that people can see other people suffering and won't help. I'm hurt that at any moment that person suffering could be me. I'm hurt that I put so much effort into getting an education, and in the eyes of some racist person, that might mean absolutely jack squat nothing. I'm hurt that, a guy like Barack Obama had to work so hard to become president, but a guy like Donald Trump can still get in so easily. And what message does that send to every Black person in this country? Any more hurt? Any more hurt? I'm hurt that when I go to research Black history, it's so many painful things to research. So many painful moments, so many painful things that don't even get acknowledged by our culture. This whole suddenly acknowledging Juneteenth thing that just happened in our culture. Well, I just hope you all realize that's because that's when the last slave found out slavery ended, which was like a full 2 years after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. So like even that's super fucked up. 2 years after it happened, the people that directly impacted found out. I mean, come on. How would you like it if a bill concerning your freedom or slavery got passed and you didn't find out 2 years later? I'm hurt by that. I'm hurt by that slave who found out 2 years later. I'm hurt by the people, the owner who thought he could get away with not telling her. Yeah, I'm hurt by all the people who think something like slavery is totally okay. Okay, next, fear. I'm pretty good on hurt. I feel like there could be maybe a little bit more hurt. Well, let's see. Hold up. Wait. There could be a little more hurt. Hold on. I'm hurt by how devalued human life is. I'm hurt by how much humans will allow other human beings to suffer, or will make other human beings, will bring suffering on to other human beings. Okay, now fear. I'm afraid of how much suffering human beings can commit onto other human beings. I'm afraid of how much emotional abuse human beings can do to others. I'm afraid of how much physical abuse human beings can do to others. I'm afraid how much emotional and physical abuse human beings can do to me. Yes. I'm afraid of how much. Yes. In the name of race. I mean, I could also say in the name of childhood also. I could go there too. In the name of money. I mean, the main thing I'm really afraid of is death. I'm just afraid of how racism can lead to death, danger and death. I'm afraid of how racism can lead to danger and death in my life. And I could just name a million ways, you know, the police, people making assumptions, people just being racist toward me and then attacking me. People I live in Santa Cruz, and so I've noticed, which is a 75% white population, and I've just noticed a lot of white people have a hard time with even saying the word race. So not even being able to say the word race, yet I'm afflicted by dealing with it all the time. So if I turn to you for some sort of help and support, and you can't even say the word, that's huge fear, denial, avoidance. I have huge fear. If the world chooses to deny and avoid my pain, my suffering, that makes it worse. Huge fear around that. Huge fear that others will make it worse. Whew. Okay, that stirred up a lot. Okay. Okay, number 4, understand. I can't think of any more fears. That's pretty much all of them. Death and making it worse. Danger, death, making it worse. Yeah. Okay, so the next one is understanding. What sort of assumptions or expectations am I making about this situation? Well, I'm assuming every moment of racism is a life or death decision, which often many are not. Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of emotional charge out of this when it may not be that big a deal. Also, I'm so charged up by race that something could be happening that's not about race at all. And I'm totally going to make race into it because that's the way I'm viewing the world also. Which, I mean, may or may not work out well for me, depending on who I'm talking to. I am judging things as, okay, judgments and comparisons. I'm judging things as racist. When, like I said, I could totally be right, but what is my process, my pattern when I assume things are racist? How do I treat others? How am I judging myself when racist things happen? I immediately definitely compare myself as being less than, not having the same amount, it being unfair, and it going into like a angry reaction. judging the situation as unfair and going into an angry reaction. And then definitely thinking I'm right about that. And then it cuts slavery, and I can just bring up slavery again, right? Here, this is my pattern, and that's the point. This is understanding. I'm building understanding for myself. This is my pattern. Okay. Wanting a world where I am actually of the same par in treatment and equality, which is funny because, you know, I have to imagine up until my parents' generation, I don't think a Black person could even have possibly imagined a world like that. And even in my parents' generation, it was pretty clear that world didn't actually exist. It's just they wanted to believe in it. Thank you, Martin Luther King, right? So my generation is really the first one to have any chance of even having it. And I constantly complain about how unequal it is. So that says a lot. So that says a lot. Yeah, but the requirement I'm putting on life, if I have my parents' understandings of the racism they put up with, or the racism my grandparents put up with, my grandfather told me that he couldn't even ride the school bus because the white bus driver would try to hit Black kids. They had to run off the road when the bus came by, because the bus driver would try to hit the Black kids. Okay, that's what he told me. Okay, if I had his mentality, I probably could make it through the world we live in today a whole lot better, because he survived all that. Okay. Okay. Okay, beliefs. I'm holding on to beliefs about so much fear, so much anger. And even though I'm totally right, I have to say, holding on to all the fear and anger is not helping me. That's not doing right by me. It's not doing right by me. I mean, I could be afraid of the racism, and I mean, I could, you know, just make a wrong turn and get hit by a car tomorrow. You know? So how am I treating myself when all this is going on? When something racist even goes on in my life, how am I treating myself? And I mean, I totally know what to do to treat myself better. I just get mad. But that's okay. I know I get mad, and I need space to get mad. I need space to feel what I feel. Okay. Okay. And then manipulate and control. Is there anything I try to manipulate and control? Yes. I'm trying to hold back my anger, my judgment of them as usually ignorant people, ignorant racist people. I try to control the situation with my judgment. Absolutely. And I think that by holding back my reaction, I'm trying to control the situation too, by holding back my reaction instead of just having a reaction, saying the first thing I think, writing that person off, flipping them the bird. Okay, and finally, love. Whew, this was intense. Finally, love. Is there anything about this situation I can say I love? One is I definitely love standing up for what I believe is right. I definitely love educating myself about history. I love discussing politics. I love talking about race and culture and ethnicity. I love being a sociologist. I mean, I guess on some level, I love that everyone gets to have freedom of choice. You know, and I can't No one gets to stuff anybody's beliefs down your throat. So you get to choose whatever your racial beliefs are. I love freedom. I love how also I'm being shown how little control I have and how I need to let go. I said love is letting go. How if I keep holding on, I'm going to struggle and suffer. You know, I get very little say in who's going to be president of this country, how the law is going to work. Even if I put in a ton of effort, I'd still get very little say, and that's the truth of it. I don't necessarily love letting go, but I do love that. I love that if I learn the life lesson, I will feel less stress in my life, and I love that. I love feeling less stress. Yeah, I love opening up to the wisdom and feeling less stress. And you know what? I put a lot of effort into being someone who's not a racist. So let me enjoy that. I can't control someone else's racism. I have no control over that at all. So, you know, if some 20-year-old kid or some 10-year-old kid now, 10 years from now turns 20 and he's a super neo-Nazi and decides to kill my 50, 60-year-old behind, well, I guess that's just the way of it, you know? But what am I going to do? And that's not easy to hear. But I guess, again, if I have no control over that, I have no control over the car that might hit me, the one bag of salmonella, the lettuce that has salmonella on it that I might eat. There's just a lot of things outside of my control. And I think that's a really useful lesson to sit with. Okay, wonderful people. So you saw how this worked. I went through all of those feelings: anger, hurt, fear, understanding, and love. I just picked each one and I got all of the feelings out before I moved on to the next one. Okay, that's how this works. It's so effective. I didn't change racism in the world at all. And the next racist thing that happens, I'm gonna bring a lot more mindfulness to what happens now. The next racist thing that happens to me. You know, I might go back into my normal pattern, or I might be a lot more forgiving or nicer to myself the next time this happens, okay? And that's the idea, okay? But at either rate, this is a real great way to get in touch with your feelings really quickly. So practice. In fact, practice all of these things. In an ideal world, you'd practice every single one of these exercises twice a day, because next week, I'm gonna give you a whole nother set of exercises to practice that involve taking these things to the next level, okay? Okay, so to all the wonderful people watching this, the next video is gonna be on Saturday. This is a repeat video, so this upcoming Saturday, which is the, what's the date? Saturday the 15th. The 15th, there is gonna be the second week 2 exercises, which is, week 2 is the emotions list, self-love, acceptance, validation, and the Byron Katie Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. So if you're interested, please show up on Saturday at 5 for us to do week 2. And if you would like to run through a problem you're having or a feeling you're dealing with, we can totally center the whole class on that. Okay? Okay, well with that, like I always say, please take care of yourselves. Please look at that self-care plan for ways to take care of yourselves. And remember, it is your job to take care of your emotional health. No one else is gonna do it for you, okay? Okay, so until Saturday, namaste.